among all of the legendary creatures spoken in English legends, none come quite close as that of the Lambton Worm. Hailing from County Durham in England, this story recounts how one tiny creature, which would have been easily killed, as part of twisted fate was allowed to live and grew to be a menace as a result until it was slain. Despite only being a legend, its impact has been seen throughout literature, especially those about dragons, comics, film, and it's become a staple story in its home area. But we want to go even further and ask this. What if the loathsome worm actually existed? What could it look like based on biology, mythology, and paleontology combined? And how terrifying could it be if unleashed into our modern world? Welcome to the very first episode of MYTHOLOGICON, where we tackle and slay the question of what if the Lambton Worm existed as a true monster, and what it might look like based on our design at the end of this episode. You'll definitely not want this worm to be in your apple after we're finished. Okay, seriously, who even wrote this? Now, let's get to the challenge intro phase, shall we? Before we begin drawing this beast, let's take a look at what the story gives us, even though there are variations of this tale. This is where the story came from after all. Luckily, a short version is available on Wikipedia, and this is where we get the details on our beastie. The narrative takes place in County Durham in Middle Age England in the 14th century, specifically near the River Wear, and was discovered by John Lambton, who was an heir to the Lambton estate located in Tyne and Wear. As the story goes, Lambton, as a youngster who did not follow rules, was fishing one Sunday at the river when, as church finishes, which he didn't go to, fishes a strange creature out from the water. Not many details are told, but we do have a few that give us somewhat of a picture of what it looks like. Its body is described as serpent-like a lamprey or some eel, with a head like a salamander's, and some narrators said it even had legs. There are two things everyone agrees on. First, it was small, not much bigger than Lambton's hand, and two, it had, quote, 9 holes on both sides of its head. Don't ask why. We, don't know either. Wanting to dispose of the creature, he heads to a well and throws it down there. He thinks he just got rid of it, and proceeds with his life, trying to make right for his rebellious times by joining the Crusades. But during his time away from home, the wormy thing he thought he killed survived, and not only that, it grew bigger. It grows large enough to escape the well, and let's just say the details aren't pretty. Everything from devouring and killing farm animals, to abducting small children, and even terrorizing local villages nearby. Quite a few stories even mentioned it was large enough to encircle a hill. In either case, in all these stories, a hill is usually mentioned. The creature keeps on repeating its actions, and eventually the villagers try to kill it. But when they cut off one of its arms, legs, etc., it simply grafts itself back onto the body, and, well, let's just say they were toast. Knights also tried to slay the beast, but even they can't do anything. The creature terrorizes the area for 7 years, and finally, John Lambton returned, but finds the situation he unknowingly planted has grown dangerously out of control. After finding his family's home extremely poor, thanks to the serpent, he decides to fight it, but seeks the counsel of a local witch or woman, depending on the story version first. She tells him to cover his armor in spearheads, and that the thing is located in the River Wear. John prepares for the battle, and heads to the river, where he finds the creature. Sure enough, he finds the menace he neglected to kill all those years ago, and during the furious matchup, the thing wraps itself around him, but thanks to the spear horns, it is cut into pieces. The parts flop into the water, where they are washed as separate pieces, ending its reign of terror and unable to regrow. So, quite a story, huh? Let's take a look at what we know so far. First, the creature grows to be quite big, possibly dinosaur size even, and is clearly described as snake-like, though definitely not like any other known snakes we have today. It possibly has legs, and its ability to attach pieces of itself onto its body. I think that's pretty much everything we can glean from the story. And with that said, let's head further into the creation phase. So, what creatures come even close to fitting the Lambton Worm for our creation? Well, there are several that come to mind, ones that we'll be using for reference. And here they are. First one is Coelosuchus, a Cretaceous period meat-eating mega-amphibian living in Australia and Antarctica that has been recorded and studied to be able to live in cold climates, perfect for the climate of County Durham, and with a nasty bite of its own. Number 2 is Titanoboa, a Paleocene period massive snake measuring anywhere from 42 to nearly 50 feet long, hailing from South America. This thing was specially made to live in waters, rivers included, and was known to constrict prey. We'll be using this for both body type, size, and semi-aquatic nature like the Coelosuchus above. Number 3 is the Hellbender Salamander. Next up, for additional inspiration, we turn to the Japanese giant salamander for its skin texture, cold water resistance, and overall look. Number 4. Axolotl. This little guy contributes a lot to our Lambton Worm because of its ability to regenerate its limbs. This is not a total match for our creature, but if we're making a real-life version of this menace, it will have to do. We'll just have to crank up this factor since this is a mythical beast we're dealing with. The last few references are as follows, but don't exclude Caprosuchus and Tanystrophius. Not only does it have dragon-looking traits, but also has the ability to move effectively on land. Given how the Lambton Worm of legend seems to have no issue traversing distance, and has legs, again in some stories, this would be a good one to add to our roster, if it weren't for the Tanystrophius. Luckily, the Tanystrophius also has amphibious nature and can move on land. Even better, it has a really long neck. So this will only add to our serpentine profile. Oh, and for our final true references, we'll add the whiptail lizard to the mix, giving it the ability to breed without Mr. Worm involved, and then we'll have the short-tailed shrew for mega appetite and high metabolism, considering how apparently voracious the legendary version was. Adding this would make our beast double trouble. With that said, our inspiration roster is complete. Time to head to the design lab. I'll see you at my desk.
Okay, so to make our Lambton Worm, we need a serpentine base, and fortunately we have that right here. What I have is a cylindrical base that widens out a little bit. As you can see here, I have the segments to note where the upper portion and the lower portion of the trunk is, and the circles represent where the shoulders will be attached to the body. And for the thighs, same idea right here. Again, just to see how you can do this. An ellipse is put here for the upper arm and elbow joints. Elbow joint specifically is with a circle and a bowling ball pin, like you see in the dinosaur video. And as for the feet, it's for both of these, it's a kind of an oval shape. Nothing too special for the neck, just sort of like a long, snaky, cylindrical shape to it. Nothing really too special, just segmenting out, just to get the proportions right. And similar thing for the tail too, except I have it droop down onto the ground. And as you can see here, I have a straight line drawn thanks to my ruler. And this is basically shows where the creature anchoring to the ground. Groundier creatures, you should always have a line drawn so that you know where to place your creature on. And for the head, I kind of sort of did like a roundish rectangular shape. Again, as the base. And yeah, that's how we're gonna draw our Lambton Worm. I'll see you in the showcase phase.
Alright, with all of that said and out of the way, we present to you all our realistic Lambton Worm. Name Serpiovenator Amphigigas infernus lamptonus. Length 40 feet long, though we predict some to grow over 50 feet. Weight 2,000 plus pounds. Habitat: river or swampy areas of the English countryside. Offspring: less than a foot long. Diet: large game like sheep, goats, even horses or cows if need be. Now, how would the Lambton Worm fare in our world? Well, if you want to ask for our opinion, we think it's quite possible this thing would still be a menace. If someone were to take one out of its environment, and around County Durham or anywhere else with a suitable climate, it would prove to be a destructively invasive species. The impact on sheep would still be felt, as per our shrew edition, and it can breed faster at an alarming rate like the raptors from GP thanks to the whiptail lizard. The carnage it leaves would still be seen, and hunting parties, along with organized searches from townspeople, police, and even the British military, would be deployed to find the beast and kill its offspring. Locals who are not taking part in the operation will be ordered to stay inside. Lock doors, do not let dogs out, and whatever they do not let children play after dark or by themselves. And when they finally do find it in the river, it'll be a bloody affair. At the end, only one wearing a spiky pelt could hope to defeat the worm of pestilence itself. As for us, we'll be keeping this one in a very special enclosure. Thank you so much for watching the very first episode of MYTHOLOGICON. If you like seeing mythical creatures drawn, learn how to draw them yourself, or listening to cool creature trivia, please hit like, subscribe, comment, or share. We've gotten more monstrous content on the way, so stick around. Also, please put down what beast from legend you want us to do and what challenge you want us to take on next. We'll gladly consider, and if we're able, to do it. Your support is very, very much appreciated. I am Professor BH of Beaster Incorporated, wishing you well until next time.